Hello, everyone. Here we are, week 3, Fitness 101, part 2. And before we get knee deep into this, I want to go back to the last thing we left off in last week's number 2 fitness lesson, which was we left off with consistency and balance equals a healthy lifestyle. And I think I might have neglected to. Did the camera just disappear again? Yeah. I'm so sorry, folks. I don't really know why that is. Um, but I do know that you can hear me, and we'll just roll with that. I promise you, I will try to get that fixed, though. But anyway, like I said, we left off with consistency and balance, and I just wanted you to know that this doesn't just mean the working out part. There are more components to a healthy lifestyle or the fitness aspect than just working out. Is working out a critical component? Well, of course it is. You have to have intentional movement to be healthy. Our bodies are designed to be healthy, and without intentional movement, you just can't have a healthy lifestyle. And like the slide says, you have to be consistent with anything. And you can't have too much of one thing and not enough of the other and still have a healthy lifestyle. So I just wanted to reiterate that. And we touched on happiness last week, but I came across this slide and I wanted to reiterate. And I thought it was pretty poignant saying, and I just wanted to share this with you. And it's really true. And I think a lot of people forget this when they're in their day-to-day life. And being happy, healthy, productive is not a byproduct. It's a deliberate, that is the operative word. Deliberate set of actions, right actions executed consistently. And you can do a lot of actions, but if you don't do the right actions over time, then you're not going to be healthy, happy, and productive. It's because you're not going to succeed in whatever you do. And to reiterate, not just fitness and weight loss. I mean, many of you were successful in weight gain. So you took actions and you executed consistently, but they weren't the right actions. So you gained weight, and that's why you're here. So that's just something that I want you to remember when you're knee deep in this program and 4, 5, 10, 12 weeks, and you think you should be progressing faster than you are. Because just know that exactly what I just mentioned, that it can be any action, not just weight loss, that if you do it consistently, you're going to get a result. And that result might not be what you want. So that's how we really have to focus on the right actions executed consistently. And again, job, relationship, self-talk, I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter. Right actions consistently. And then, healthy, happy, and productive. It just doesn't happen. It's a deliberate set of right actions consistently. And I guess as a reminder, this kind of says the same thing, but in a different way. So you've done a lot of things consistently, small things that you repeated day in and day out to get where you are. Well, meaning you didn't have a couple of bad meals here and there to get where you are. You made consistently bad, and it's okay. This is something that you need to be aware of and you need to know before you can change it. But consistently bad choices that got you where you are. In addition, choosing to not exercise, which is a choice. You chose to be sedentary, or you chose to drink certain beverages consistently. So you were successful in getting to where you are now because you chose to do inconsistent actions day in and day out. And it is a choice. I want you to know that it certainly is a choice. And you do have the choice to undo those actions because, once again, it's a choice. And before we can set yourself up for success, I believe very, very, very strongly that we have to remove any barriers to failure. And what does that even mean? Well, obviously you have to set yourself up for success, but to do that, you have to remove any barriers to failure. And this should be obvious, and I think it will after I bring it to your attention, but having bad food in the house, if you know your weakness is a bag of potato chips or cupcakes, whatever, and you have them in the house, that is potentially setting yourself up for failure. So you have to remove those things that have stopped you in the past. And setting yourself up for success is not only setting yourself up for success, but you have to remove those barriers and the barriers to failure. And those could be ones that you've had in the past, having bad food or not having the time or the know-how or confusion or waking up late or whatever. But again, you have to increase your chance of compliance, which not only is removing those things that set you up for failure, but increasing your chance of success by bringing your water bottle with you, putting your clothes out the night before, and meal prepping or packing your food, or however you want to do your food that works for you, because what works for me or other people may not work for you. And, a checklist actually has been very helpful for not only me in the past, but other people. Not everybody operates off a checklist, but I certainly do. I mean, a literal checklist that helps me, especially day-to-day stuff. If I've got things to do and it's a number of different things, I write that stuff down, and it feels good to not only check things off the list, but it keeps me on task having a physical list to look at and cross it off. You may use an iPhone list or whatever, but I just happen to use a calendar. But this is what I'm talking about for a fitness list. And this will actually, it may not seem like it at first, but this will actually help you increase your compliance, because a lot of the time, believe it or not, people have used not knowing the lingo or the fitness terms or the workout terms or as an excuse for not doing the workout. I know you're probably thinking, oh, that's just so ridiculous. Well, trust me, if you can think it, I've heard of it. So, and I have created a fitness checklist for you that includes all of these items, and it goes into a little bit better detail of what they actually are. And then I'll just go over a few right now. So, lingo. If you see in the fitness app, which is either going to be Trainerize or Fitter, I haven't. I'm using both, so we'll just whatever you come to. But either way, if you're in today's workout and you see, 3 sets of 15 reps, or do speed squats, AMRAP, AMRAP. That's an acronym, as many reps as possible. So that's what I'm talking about, lingo. If you don't know what sets are, if you don't know what reps are, if you don't know what EMOM or DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, which you will have, but you can't let those things scare you. I'm digressing a little bit for the DOMS, but either way, I've tried to include a lot of the most common terms in the fitness industry. So if you just refer to that when you're doing your workout, I think it will help you a lot. If you're not already familiar, you might already know what you're doing or what the terms mean, which is great. You're ahead of the 8 ball. And clothing and shoes. This doesn't have to be anything fancy, or it doesn't have to be Nike's signature wear or signature shoes. Wear something that's comfortable. And obviously wear a sports bra. That's pretty important. You don't want yourself flop all over the place and, hurting yourself or being uncomfortable the next day because you didn't have the right clothing on. Or something loose or form-fitting. Wicking, moisture wicking is always a good idea, and it doesn't have to be expensive. There's tons of stuff out there that moisture wicking, just when you sweat, it keeps you cool. I don't know how it works, but it does. Again, none of that stuff is required, but you just have to find what works for you and make it work for you. And equipment, meaning home equipment, if you're going to work out from the home program, or in the gym equipment if you're working out in the gym, which obviously if you're in a gym, you're going to have all the equipment you need. But if you're home, there's a number of, I want to say, staples that are going to be required. Even though you can do all body weight, you're not going to get the results that you have unless you have resistance training. There are so many benefits to resistance training that we're going to go over here in a minute, but just know that invest in a good set of dumbbells, a good set of glute bands or stretch bands, and stretch bands. They're two different things. And maybe a mat. And obviously you'll need a towel, but you don't need anything fancy for that. You can just use a hand towel or whatever towel you have at your house. Again, doesn't have to be anything fitnessy. You just have to do stuff that works for you. And what are we talking about what do I mean when I say app? Excuse me. Well, how your program is delivered. And that, again, that's going to be Trainerize or Fitter. And they're both the same. They're just, they're different platforms, different companies. But you kind of need that. It is how the exercise/fitness portion of your program is delivered. And it's also how we communicate via text, say for our weekly check-ins. But a watch and a tracker, not necessary, but incredibly helpful. And a watch, meaning like an Apple Watch or a Samsung Galaxy Watch if you're an Android user. Those things have built-in heart rate monitors. Again, not required for this particular program, but it's always helpful to know what your heart rate is at, because what your heart rate is at is going to be different than what mine needs to be at to what someone else's is going to be at. And what is a tracker? Well, most of those watches have a built-in GPS feature, which is kind of cool if you're outside doing exercise. And they also track your route, so you can pull it out. And you probably already know this. I'm just telling you stuff that, again, you may already know, but it could be a gentle reminder. But anyway, watch and trackers are just kind of a cool, fun thing to have. Not necessary, though. And the plan in the program is the Cameron Steele ACE weight loss method. You need something to follow and to hold you accountable. So that's where the plan in the program comes in, which is delivered via the app. So you've already got that checked off. So let's talk about possible reasons why you've not succeeded. And it's none of these things. You may think it's these things, but it's not these things. Well, say for the plan of the program, it could be. But all of these things here on this slide, they're actually all worthy of their own individual slide. But for now, I'm only going to talk about there's 2 on here, maybe 3 that are the most common, and I still see happening after 30 years in this industry. And which is the first one, and that's the wrong plan for you. So what is that? What is that? That is typically you've got some everyday cookie cutter plan off Instagram or off YouTube, or you grabbed your partner's plan or your husband's plan or your wife's plan, and you're doing the same thing they're doing. Now, you will probably get results with that, but it's not tailored to you and your circumstances and your goals. So at some point, you're going to come to a screeching halt. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So another reason why you might have not succeeded, you've got the right plan, but you've executed it wrong, or no execution at all. And what do I mean by the right plan but the wrong execution? Well, you could have the right plan, Cameron Steele's ACE weight loss method, which you are currently a member of and hopefully utilizing. But you're putting your own flair on it or your own spin. You're doing things the way that you want to do them. That is wrong execution. Or, well, I guess this will be included. You're doing, if the plan says, the workout plan says 3 sets of 15 reps, and you're doing 2 sets of 4 reps, that doesn't work. That is wrong execution. It's just as simple as that. So let's move on. And again, saying you could also have the right plan and no execution, which would be you just don't do it, which I hope that's not the case. But this is huge, huge, huge. This is probably more common than anything else I see in the industry regarding people who have not succeeded. And please listen and hear me when I tell you that too much cardio is what every woman has tried at least one time. And some, or I would probably even say the most, at least the most of the women that I've come in contact with, they've done it more times than one because they do lose weight. But what they're confusing is weight loss with fat loss. And I'm going to go into this in detail in the next few slides, and then you'll understand. But for now, too much cardio and no strength training. Again, those are both addressed in the next slide. So food, this is huge too. But for some reason, most women, yes, they do overeat, but well, I take that back. Not most women. I would say it's probably 50-50 or 60-40 between too much food and not enough food. And when your body goes into that starvation mode from not eating enough food, you're not going to drop fat, and all your metabolism screeches to a halt. That's why you've got to trust the process, which we've talked about in previous lessons. Trust the process. And believe it or not, stress will stop your progress. And this was also addressed in a previous lesson too. This will stop your progress even if everything else that we just talked about above stress is on point and dialed in. Without a doubt, stress will prevent you from reaching your goals, and it will grind everything to a screeching halt. I cannot stress this enough. So let's go back to cardio. So what worked, we are more than likely over 40, and some of us are over 50, myself included. And what worked in our 20s, well, we got to face this. It just doesn't work now. And way back then, when we were 20s and our 30s, we could get away with tons of cardio, right? We could. But now, not so much. And when I said earlier that most women have done this, they do too much cardio. That is not the answer. Have you ever done it? You've done too much cardio? When I say too much, I'm talking about an hour a day on the treadmill, and that's it. That's your working out. But then you're skinny fat. What does that mean? Well, you're 106 pounds, but you have loose and saggy skin, or in some cases, you still have cellulite, or your stomach is kind of loose and gross. I mean, what you're doing is you're burning precious muscle tissue, and that's not sustainable. When you do all of this crazy lengthy cardio, and I don't care if it's HIIT cardio, high intensity interval training, or you're doing an hour a day walk, whatever, you're burning muscle tissue, not fat. And this along with not enough food, which means if you're not eating enough food, that means you're not eating enough protein, which means you don't have the foundation in place to create the toned muscle that you want because you're burning it all away. We need to do less cardio and more strength training, because why? That increases our metabolism, which is called an acronym BMR, basal metabolic rate, which simply means what it takes for your body to your heartbeat and you to breathe at rest. So less cardio and more strength training, meaning more lean toned muscle from strength training, increases your metabolism. So what does that mean? You burn more calories while you rest or while you're not working out. Why wouldn't we want that? And this is such a powerful slide here. Look at this. So on the left, she was doing excessive cardio, no strength training. As you can see, there's no shape to her at all. And food restriction, which means hypocaloric dieting. So no food, a lot of cardio. And look at her on the left. And then look what she did. No restriction, meaning she's adding food to her strength training in the gym. I'm not talking about, when I say strength training, I'm not talking about lifting 2-pound pink weights in the corner, in the ladies' corner at the gym. No, I'm talking heavy ass weights. Wouldn't you want to look like the girl look like her on the right? I'm talking about the actual picture on the left. This one here versus this one. We'll talk about her in a second. But look, there's no definition here. Yeah, she is lean, but there's no muscle tissue. So she's doing too much cardio and not enough strength training. But look at this. She has nice flat stomach, abs. She has some tone and definition to her arms. You can see her bicep peak. Look at her shoulder. And she looks healthier because she's not dieting / food restricting. And she's added strength training to her fitness regimen. So same thing here. And I can guarantee you she weighs more here than she does here. So don't think that just because you lose weight, that's your magic bullet when you lose weight. Because that's why you're doing cardio, because you want to lose weight. Well, would it matter what you weigh if you look like what you want to look like? Look at her. Before, 110 pounds, skinny fat, no definition, kind of a bag of bones if you ask me, to this. Look at the definition here. Definition in her shoulder. She's lean. Look at her butt here. No butt. Butt. Abs. And she weighs more. So too much cardio is not the answer. Strength training with no dieting restrictions is. And this is the same type, or just another illustration to my point. 123 pounds, no strength training, to 132 pounds. She's getting there. She's adding strength training, dieting. Not when I say dieting, I mean proper food and strength training. And look, 123 pounds on the left to 137 pounds on the right. And she's still lean, curvy, but look at all this fat here. Do you see all this around the stomach and the lower hip area and the abdomen? None here. So 123 pounds to 14 pounds heavier. Is that 14, 23, 33? Yeah. 14 pounds more. But she looks leaner and fitter and more toned here than she does here. You can weigh more and look better if you trust the process. Same thing. 139 pounds to 148 pounds. Not quite 10 pounds, but look at the difference. No butt. She's almost flat there, flat butt. Look here. She's got a nice rounded butt. She's got nice hamstrings. Lean here, no pooch. You can see the definition in her shoulders. None here. She's skinny as a rail, 139 pounds. She's probably tall to be that thin. But look here. She has more definition, more tone, more lean muscle mass because she has added strength training to her workouts. So I cannot emphasize that enough. Let me grab some water. Okay. Why heavy strength training is the answer? Well, this slide alone could be an entire presentation in itself. Heavy lifting equals more lean, toned muscle. And the more muscle you have, the more your metabolism increases, which means the more fat you're burning. When your metabolism is increased, you're going to be hungrier. That's why you can't food restrict when you're lifting heavy. But simply put, the more muscle you have, the more energy your body requires at rest. That's that BMR, that metabolism thing that we were talking about a couple slides back. And this is the exact reason why a 210-pound athlete can take a 2-week training break and eat the house down and not gain an ounce of fat. But the overweight, sedentary person knows that if they don't do some kind of exercise, they're going to have to be very, very precise and careful with their diet. Otherwise, they're going to, pack on the pounds. And there was I think he's a certified strength and conditioning coach. His name is Doug McGuff. He sums it up I think he said, this may not be verbatim, but if you lose 5 pounds of muscle, the amount of calories you burn in 24 hours decreases by 250 calories. Think about that. So instead of your body burning at rest, hypothetically, I'm just pulling a number out, but if you're burning 1,000 calories a day sitting around, doing your normal routine, going to the mailbox, going to work, coming home, breathing, sitting at your desk, whatever. If you lose 5 pounds of muscle by doing way too much cardio or not working out or just simply the aging process, you're burning 250 less calories a day than you normally would if you can maintain that 5 pounds of muscle. And that, at first glance, that may not seem like a lot. But if you do the math, 250 calories a day over 7 days, over a week, is 750 calories. So you're not burning that. That, again, I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. But when you have that extra lean toned muscle, that just means that your body needs more fuel to just live, that BMR, just live your every day. And that's why when strength training, you have to eat. You're going to be hungry, so you have to eat. If you deprive your body of food, it's going to hold on to that weight. And this goes to the second point of the slide. When you lift heavy strength training, you can maintain lean muscle when the calories are low, meaning when you are dieting, which is what I just said. We've got that 250-pound athlete or whatever, 150-pound woman athlete, anybody, that they can take more time off because they have more muscle, because your body has to burn more calories to maintain muscle than it does fat. That's why the more muscle you have, the more calories that you're going to burn over time, which is good because you're going to keep the fat off. So in other words, heavy lifting plus dieting helps us achieve that, that ever elusive, sought after toned look. There was a study I think it's been a while, but in the late 90s maybe, in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. And the study found that dieting participants who lifted heavy weights, meaning strength trained, they maintained higher levels of lean toned muscle than those who didn't. So what does that mean? That the body, if you think about it, the body functions on a use it or lose it principle. And by the way, these participants were all obese females. So they lifted heavy weights and they maintained their lean toned muscle mass over those that didn't strength train. So in other words, those that didn't strength train got skinny fat. So what's number 3? The most effective way to make hormonal changes for fat loss is heavy strength training. Again, it goes back to what we've been saying the first 2 points. When you lift heavy, you increase growth hormone and testosterone. Don't freak out about the word testosterone. And yes, you do have testosterone, just like guys do. You don't have as much, but you do have testosterone. This is why women over 40 and 50 lose muscle mass and have flabby bat wings on their arms and their butt is saggy. It's because they don't strength train, so their metabolism slows and they get flabby, or they're doing excessive cardio and they're burning precious muscle mass that they've already lost because they're not strength training. So heavy lifting increases growth hormone and testosterone. And there's so many studies. Remember, all the stuff we talk about is all science-based. When you are strength training, your metabolism increases, which means your basic metabolic rate. And remember what that is: when your body at rest, just normal calorie burn to keep you alive. Thinking, eating, breathing, all of those things. You're increasing your metabolism by strength training. And you're also decreasing cortisol, which means what? Fat loss speeds up. Cortisol is a very detrimental, some instances it can be good. So don't freak out if we talk later in a presentation or a lesson that talks about cortisol being good. It can be. But for the purposes of this particular lesson, we're talking about an increase or a decrease in cortisol. Strength training increases your metabolism and decreases cortisol, which means fat loss speeds up. And both of those things, decrease cortisol and growth hormone and testosterone, all of these things are needed for fat loss and an increase in metabolism. And by the way, as a side note, you also need those things for cellulite reduction. Love that. All right, so high reps and low weight. What does this mean? Well, I'm sure at some point in your lifetime you've heard programs, plans, your neighbor, your friend, or the internet says, do 20 reps of squats with very low weight. I mean, you just go and you go and you go. That's like endurance weight training. The weight is very light and the volume is very high. And the rest periods are typically short, which can be something similar to HIIT cardio. But many people believe that high volume, high rep, short rest workout with light weights is going to burn more calories than a simple heavy ass 5 sets of 5 reps. That may be true for the short term, but I think what we have to look at here is the bigger picture. I mean, if you're performing these intense workouts, heavy workouts, strength training, your body will, after you're done and you go home or you finish your workout, whatever, your body continues to burn calories at a higher rate after the training session is over. What does that mean? That means you're training your body to increase its metabolism. So at rest, over time, you're burning more calories. And you're also, the stress imposed on that muscle tissue when you're tearing down that muscle, not a bad thing. It's just you need to tear down muscle tissue to build it back up, right? Just like anything. But building that back up, the stress imposed on that muscle tissue means the body just needs to repair and rebuild damaged tissue, which, think about it, that's also an energy need. So you're consuming calories doing that. So your body, all of these things we're talking about, we're increasing your metabolism, your basal, your BMR, your metabolic rate. And the key is to overall, over time, increase your caloric burn so you can stay lean and tone and utilize those calories to your body's full ability. And when you, on the flip side of that, if you're doing a high rep, lightweight workout, you're not getting those post-training energy demands that you would if you're doing heavy strength training. The requirement is just not there because you're not breaking down that muscle tissue that needs to be rebuilt. So the caloric requirement or the energy need isn't there. Plus, that the strengthened and larger muscle that you built as a result of that heavy strength training, it uses more energy at rest. So bigger, and when I say bigger muscles, don't freak out. I just mean lean, toned muscle. It can also store more glycogen, which just means when you eat carbohydrates, we're digressing a little bit, but I'm going there anyway. So when you eat carbohydrates, they fill your muscles. That's what gives your muscles the energy to get through a workout. Carbs converted to glycogen to give you energy. And if you don't have muscles, you're going to have less energy because the muscle tissue isn't there to store the glycogen or the food that you ate that's converted into glycogen, also known as energy for your muscle. So do you see where this is kind of like a vicious cycle? And then, the other thing with this high rep or these endless cardio sessions and the low, whether it's high repetitions and low weight or the endless cardio, you're overtraining. I've had, as an example, I had mentioned about 10 minutes ago that if you're having these marathon cardio sessions for an hour every other day, you're burning that precious muscle, but that puts chronic stress on your body in the form of increased cortisol. And remember what I said, when you have that cortisol, that literally is like an injection of stress into your body. And that leads to fat retention. And remember, we talked about in whatever form it comes, because whether it's stress at work, stress from overtraining, that stress causes a cortisol release in your body. And if you're doing that constantly, that cortisol causes fat retention. Again, another reason why you can't lose weight if you're doing, or you can lose weight, but you're not losing fat, nor are you building muscle because your cortisol is too high. So if you're busting your hump every day, like you've probably been doing for a while, or if you're not now, I'm sure you have in the past, you're overtraining. And these massive loads of workout after workout after workout, and your intensity is through the roof, you got to do things differently. And you've got, in the form of not only training differently, but you have to make sure your recovery is adequate, and you've got to make sure that your lifestyle stressors are in check, and you have to have the proper calories, which means nutrients. You can't not eat. You can't, especially when you start adding heavy strength training in, because remember, you need fuel in the form of food, which turns into glycogen, which is delivered to the muscle to give you energy to strength train properly. In addition to that food, i.e. protein, builds new, beautiful, toned, lean, sexy muscle, which is why you're here. And also the more muscle you have, the less fat you have. So all of this stuff, especially not enough food, not enough nutrition, it impacts your body's ability to recover. And if you've noticed, if you've been in the gym for a few years and you've been really hard, you're hitting it hard, and you just you just don't have it in you anymore. Or if maybe you're, I'm not big on motivation, but for lack of a better term in the moment, I'm going to say if you've noticed your motivation to train is just gone, or I don't know, maybe your efficiency in the gym has stalled, chances are you're overtraining. And again, I cannot stress to you enough that overtraining, high reps, cardio, that causes your body to eat the muscle tissue. You're eating away at muscle tissue, which is autophagy. Somebody said autophagy the other day. It's like, no, that's not how you say it. It's autophagy. And that just means that increased cortisol causes lower testosterone levels, and poor testosterone to cortisol levels will lead to muscle loss and fat gain, and nobody wants fat gain. But that's what you're going to get if you keep doing things the way that you do them and doing them. And also, I think I mentioned this in a previous lesson, that high cortisol, again, doesn't matter if it's from stress or these crazy ass long cardio sessions that you're doing for working out, that's going to cause insulin resistance, which also causes fat accumulation, especially around the abdominal area. And excuse me, got to get a drink. And I wish I had my camera. Okay, so let's move on. And I'm sorry I couldn't find a female illustration for this, but this, regardless, this is still illustrates my point. So look at this and tell me who looks more toned. The people on the left, or the guy on the left at 35%, or the guy on the right at 10% body. And the percentages are body fats, by the way. Okay, obviously the guy on the right. So what changes do you see as you move through from the guy on the left to the right? Simple. Body fat. He lost body fat. If you start at the left, 35% body fat, and 30, 25, so on and so forth. He lost body fat, and now the muscle on the right is visible. He's 8% body fat. I mean, look at him. He's got abs. He's got pecs. He's got thighs that are defined. Not so much here. Look at all the squishy fat. So more than likely, the muscle itself didn't even change. Probably still the same amount of muscle. I'd be willing to bet you that they probably even weigh close to the same amount. But what has happened here is he probably, let's see, how can I explain this? So the muscle itself most likely didn't even change, but it would be my bet that the muscle mass is even higher in the guy on the left than those on the right. He probably lost muscle mass as he became leaner, but because he lost a lot of the fat, the muscle is just simply more visible now, and he looks more toned. So what does that mean for you? Toning requires strengthening and building up the muscle while you lose the fat. And let me just reiterate the first half of that. It requires toning, that is, requires strengthening and building up the muscle. I mean, if there's no muscle there to begin with, then you can lose all the body fat in the world, but you're never going to have that toned look. What are you going to have? You're going to have the skinny fat. So, and I'm sure you've had that. If you don't have it now, you've probably had it in the past. And if not, let me show you what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh. Okay, so both of these women, they have similar body fat levels. Yet one has a lot more muscle, and I'm going to give you one guess as to which one that is. Again, toning requires strengthening and building up the muscle while losing the fat. So if you're following me so far, I mean, I think you get that the best way to build muscle and lose the fat is lifting heavy weights. Yep, even if you're a woman. Okay, so I'm going to get off my soapbox now, and that's all I've got, and I will see you in the next lesson.